I'm going to give you a little bit of a rundown of how I made the example that I showed you. I'm going to click all of these layers back on and probably not explain every single one, but give you a sense of what I was doing. So here's the final image that I came to that I was happy with. And I started really by combining two images and then using a whole bunch of layer masks and adjustment layers to play around with the coloring, the vibrance, and the blending modes. So this was my end result. So like I said, I won't explain everything, but I'll give you some basic ideas. So I began, as you are going to begin, with two different photographs. So I have the photograph that you all have, and I also have a photograph from a former student that I really loved for its graphic quality, and I thought how nice would it be to combine these two, also because of the negative space and the figural elements together. So where I started was in isolating, cutting out the background. And in cutting out the background, there's a lot of different ways that you can go about it. And the way that I did it was to use one of the selection tools. And I experimented with a couple. I usually like to try the magic wand tool because it's a really easy one if it's going to behave for a particular image just based on kind of the colors in the picture. So I hit the magic wand tool and I got a section, but I didn't get all. Hit shift and tried to get additional parts. And it was working kind of. But it just was not getting everything. So I'm going to give up on the magic wand tool and hit Command D and deselect. Okay, so Command D is a really helpful one. And instead of the magic wand tool, maybe I'll use what's underneath it, the quick selection tool. And I will press down and select by just kind of painting over just the face at first. Trying to get all parts. And the neck. You'll see it jumped into the background there. Ah, okay. So too much background, right? Just too much. That one's not going to work for me either. I'm going to hit deselect again. It's because this is a monochromatic image. Instead, I'm going to try and go to the lasso tools. And I think the magnetic lasso tool is what I want to use. And go along the edge of this entire figure. And Photoshop is kind of plotting along that edge and dropping little magnets. And I'm just pulling the rope between the magnets, basically. Okay. And now, once I connect them and let go and stop clicking, I have marching ants that show up, which is that kind of shaky pattern. And that means that I have a successful selection. Now, it's not a perfect selection, so I want to make it a little more perfect. You saw I missed part of the chest, and then I have a little extra background around the neck and missed some of the shoulder. So what I'm going to do is make a mask and then refine that mask. So mask means I'm going to block out everything that I don't want to see as part of the image. So I'm going to go back over to the layers panel. And this box down here is the mask. If I just click on it while I have a selection, I'm adding a layer mask that blocks out everything that I did not have selected. I'm going to hit undo. and show you that I could also hit Alt at the same time and hit the Add Layer Mask button, and it would do the opposite. So undo again. I'm just going to click it without hitting any other buttons, and that's what I have. Now, you'll notice right away that I have a layer mask that showed up, where what's in this little icon, what is black is what's being covered, it's what's being masked. And so the background layer now can be seen because it's being basically like, think of the black as an invisibility cloak, okay? And the white is where there's no invisibility cloak. That's a pretty good way of thinking of masks, really. So I'm gonna zoom in a bit and notice that my invisibility cloak, while it works really well, is not as clean as I wanted because my selection was not all that hot. So I am going to refine the mask. And I can do it a number of ways. One way I could do it is to hit the paintbrush tool. And whenever you're working with layer masks, and a paintbrush, you're always going to work in white or black. And if you're working in black, if you're working with black as your foreground color, basically, if I painted across it, I'm going to make the opacity really high and the flow really high so you can see exactly what's going on. If I paint across it, I have created more invisibility mask, right? the cloak. I've created a mask because I'm working in black, and you can see that line showed up across my mask icon. I'm going to hit undo because I don't actually want that. And I'm going to flip the color so I have white on top and paint over this cheek that I missed and bring that edge back so I can see really what's going on here. Get a little closer. Okay, and now I'm just going to carve it away. And my brush is pretty feathered right now. It's pretty soft. I'm going to make it hard again. And then, oops. Make sure black is on top now. I'm going to mask over this section. Okay, so that's one way to affect your mask in a really direct way. Another way I could refine my mask is actually a really cool thing. We'll do it on this shoulder down here. I'm gonna control click on the mask itself, and I now have an option where it says refine mask. So I'm gonna click on that. And boom, I get this refine mask dialog showing up and a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm going to use edge detection. Click on smart radius. And with this brush that's highlighted, make my bracket size a little bigger. Make my brush size bigger by hitting the bracket button. I'm going to go paint over that edge. When I let go, edge refinement has started to bring it a little bit more. It's not perfect yet, so I'm going to adjust the edge, smooth it out. Bring in a little more contrast. Maybe I would shift the edge outward. Okay, getting there. And I'm a lot happier with that. Let's see. Do the same thing over that shoulder. Yep, that's good. That worked really well. Do the same thing over the neck. Pretty well. How about right here? Okay, so that's a little better. I'm gonna hit OK. So now you can see it's a little bit feathered down there. but I've at least got the edge back. I'm going to refine it further by going back to my brush. Oops. And paint with black on top to get rid of some of that feathering. Okay. It's a little cleaner than it was before. And at this point, it would be helpful to make the brush a bit softer. All right. Okay, I've got a decent layer mask going on. So now that I've got these two layers and one is masked and so that they can both be seen, I'm going to play even more with blending modes. And I have the sculpture layer highlighted. I'm going to go to the blending mode and play around with different options. I remember when I hit screen, I really liked the way that that looked. I could also do something like, that's kind of creepy. That's cool. What if I do screen and then duplicate this layer by hitting Control click, duplicate. Okay, so now I have two of the same layer kind of screen blended on top of itself. That's actually really nice. But what if I do another blending mode? No. That's what I had before. That's cool. I like that. I like that. So it's like it's on fire. I'm gonna go with this one. So I've got, click on it. I'll name them. So screen, and this one, color burn. Now I want to play around with this base photo that I have here. And this is where adjustment layers comes in. Cool stuff. And so first I'm just going to make some random shapes because why not? So I'm going to do that with a selection. And I've got the polygonal lasso tool selected. And I'm going to make a shape, which is similar to what I did before. Cool. And then I'm going to adjust. So I'm going to go down to this adjustment layer button, click on it, and maybe let's do vibrance. And so just within, you see that it automatically made a mask. And so just within the place that is not masked, I can make the vibrance. We'll bring it way down. And the saturation way up. Or way down. Actually, I really like that. I'm gonna go with that. I could make a shape. I'm going to go to the ellipses. If I hit shift, I can get a perfect circle, something like that. And hit adjustment layer again. And instead of brightness or instead of vibrance this time, go to color balance. And within that circle now, I can change colors. The colors. Another thing I like to do is I'll go back to this first layer again. And maybe this time I'll pick up the quick selection tool. And I'm going to try and select all of this red back here. I just can go around the hand and it'll really easily pick up the background. So now I can do something with this selection. And within adjustment layers, maybe I'll do something as wild and crazy as gradient map. Ooh. And if I click up here, I've got, if I click here, I've got some options. I'm gonna go with that first one that I picked, and I can can even like move the colors around. I don't think I like that. But I like that. Thank you for humoring me. I'm gonna hit OK. Sweet. What if I duplicate this? Now I'm just going crazy. I'm gonna duplicate this, and then I'm gonna blend mode on top of it. Digging it. Play around. Have fun. See you next week.